Okay, so we're on lesson number 308 of Course in Miracles, and this lesson reflects, in a sense, my understanding of how the second coming is accomplished. In all of us, this instant is the only time there is, and this goes back. What this particular lesson and what it speaks of goes back very early on to probably in the first 15 lessons, somewhere Jesus begins to talk about how we need a new understanding, a new way of perceiving time, a new way to view time. We need to change, have our mind change about what time actually is. And that's what this lesson is going to say. Oh, I have conceived of time in such a way that it defeats my aim. And it's interesting that he says that because to most people, the idea that they can have a plan and have the fulfillment of the plan come in the future is one of the many ways that they preoccupy themselves and keep them from experiencing what's available to them and the opening that can be had of your own heart and mind when you release yourself from that modality of thinking. So it's not merely releasing yourself, in a sense, from the past or from the future. It's coming into a new understanding of how to view time in its entirety so as to aid and abet you in the fulfillment of your function, rather than to thwart you simply because you think it would be possible to do something in the future that isn't occurring now, when the mind that thinks that makes a future exactly as the now is to it by not understanding that the past is gone. And the only way for the future to be unlike the past is for that to be so that now, right there, an experience can be had that allows you to understand yourself differently and show you that time isn't what you thought it was, and now time becomes useful to you rather than operating against you or operating in conjunction with the ego's need to keep you from fulfilling your function and finding out who you are in the here and now. Because once you do, in a big way, you'll begin to defer to that experience and stop yourself in any moment, not dwell on the past, not seek an answer in the past that will occur in the future, but release yourself, use the problem or the experience that you're having to help you remember the new purpose of time that you've discovered in your mind, so as to remember that the way in which we experience our salvation, which is freedom and release from the perception of what we thought we were, as creatures, these physical creatures bound to a world of space and time, living within a world of limitation that someone else placed upon us, and we have no idea why, how, or what we're meant to do with it, other than get old, get sick, and die, and lose the little that we gain and accomplish within this world. I have conceived of time in such a way that I defeat my aim. If I elect to reach past time to timelessness. And this is another one of those examples where everything, there's this triune idea. This triune idea that involves always a transition. So we have time, timelessness, and eternity. Okay. We always have this, it's right there. Some people, it's indicated by the X in the cross, as it's much like the crossroad. It's the same idea as Robert Johnson going down to the crossroad and selling his soul to the devil. It's the same idea. We're going down to the crossroad of here and now and allowing our mind to be open to our reality, which to the ego is what the devil is, because when we discover our reality, we will be suspect of the ego's intentions of us, and we will have an experiential occurrence within ourselves that reminds us right alongside. Boy, how can I express this? Okay. There's a moment, the here and now is waiting for you right alongside every single instant and every single decision that you make. Okay? And it's interesting because I see things so clearly in my eye. And in one sense, there's two things that go on. When my mind opens up and I begin to have this experience of like sitting here in the now and looking through space and time, sitting in a moment that's in an instant that seems timeless because the world of space and time is not intruding on it at all. And while I sit here and speak to you right now, my mind is open to the infinite and the eternal, and it sees directly through the illusion of time and leaves me in an experience of what timelessness is. Okay? I must change my perception of what time is for. Okay, what is time for? Is time itself, the space, merely for me to enter into a condition of material reality so as to exist from the beginning of my sojourn to the end of my sojourn, and then in the end have no idea of what occurred and lose everything that I thought I worked for. That's the futility of space and time when we don't look directly at how we're using it and the purpose that we're here to achieve. If we're here to achieve purposes in space and time, then it will take us space and time to achieve them, and we'll always be looking to the future to relieve ourselves or to release ourselves or to allow us to be happy, and an occurrence that is not happening now. And that thinking is what keeps us from experiencing the beingness that's available in the here and now, where all the joy in the universe is, where we are actually free from the idea that anything can be achieved in space and time, because space and time is giving way to timelessness, and the next step is eternity, in which there is no such thing as a physical body in space and time, nor anything to accomplish, because the ending of space and time is the achievement of salvation and the recognition of the second coming in myself and all of my brothers, where space and time no longer is necessary for the purpose of learning who we are. Okay? Time's purpose cannot be to keep the past and future only. Of course not. The only interval in which I can be saved from time is now. Of course. Yeah, obviously you can't be, there's no one, I've said this a million times, there's no one who has woken up in the past, and there is no one who will ever wake up in the future. The only place anything occurs is the here and now. And when you allow ourselves to stay in alignment and convergence with that here and now, the world will seem to continue to occur, but it will be an unfoldment and manifestation of the fruition of the second coming here within our mind and hearts, wherein which space and time will give way to God taking the final step, wherein which the classroom is dissolved and we recognize we really did and truly never left and never needed the classroom in the first place. So in a sense, the ending of the illusion of space and time will preclude the ability for it to ever have existed. Now, if you can wrap your mind around that and understand what it is you seem to be able, you're being asked to accomplish within your own thinking, within your own heart and mind, by allowing yourself to have experiences to augment and prove the theory true, you'll begin to see how simple this is. Because the past really is gone, and there is no such thing as the future. I know our minds, the egoic mind, keeps us busy thinking of the past in order to control the future. But that's just a distraction that we've been utilizing since time immemorial to keep us from coming into the moment wherein which we discover the everythingness of our being and everything we've always been looking for. The ego survives through compromise, through maintaining the search, through compromising, and through comparison. So it's going to attempt to look at the future in comparison to the past, try to figure out what to do and what not to do, thinking that if it does it or if it does or does not do it, at some point in the future, you're going to be happy for everything that you've done. Okay, and all of that keeps us from looking within to where the true source of joy is. The only interview in which I can be saved from time is now. For in this instant has forgiveness come to set me free. The birth of Christ is now, without a past and without a future. Yes, the birth of Christ as each and every one of you. I'm going to say this, and then I'm probably going to stop. Each and every one of you, I guarantee you this. Each and every one of you is going to enter into a now that is so full and so complete. You will go back through time into a moment of timelessness, and you will peek through to the other side, and you will see that your creation, and in that sense, I don't know, because birth is not the correct word, your conception and your emergence had nothing to do with space and time, but everything to do with the eternal nature of God extending himself as you. Okay? Christ, you. The truth of who you are, that shared identity, that shared single whole perfect self, that God conceived of within his infinite mind of love, the desire to share with something which is you, by allowing you to be full blown. This is the same idea. If we go back into Greek mythology, the Greeks attempted, and this would be a great thing to talk about, the idea of when we think that Greeks had multiple gods. It's not entirely true. The Greeks, as well as the Hindus, have many deities, individual gods, that they use to attempt to explain how everything is occurring. Each one seems to have an action, be it the wind or or fire or snow. In Greek mythology, the god Zeus had an idea for a lover. and that lover was born, was full born. Zeus was full born, was fully blown, fully created from the mind as an idea. I believe, if I'm trying to remember exact mythology, I believe it is Hera. Zeus had the desire to share his kingdom with something. So he, in the manifestation of the fulfillment of his desire was the manifestation of an idea of his counterpart, fully blown exactly as he is, from the mind of from his divine mind, to be exactly as he is, so he can share the cosmos with her beyond space and time. It's the same idea. It's the attempt to try to explain something and bypass the need for the egoic mind to understand conceptually something which can only be experienced when you free yourself from all your concepts of what you think you are, because you cannot, as Jesus says, you did not create yourself. You cannot conceive of what you are as eternal, infinite, whole, and perfect without understanding who your Father is as whole and perfect with you. So you cannot get to the Father except through the Son, and you cannot know the Son except by sharing that identity with all of your brothers. And in that sense, the identity that you're sharing has nothing to do with anything that was born or died in space and time, and has everything to do with the full-blown idea of God sharing everything, his kingdom, with something exactly like him, because sharing is how everything increases. Sharing is how love grows. Sharing is how creation happens. Okay? So, I guarantee you, I'll get back to what I was saying, I guarantee you, there is going to come a moment. Many people have referred to this as their moment of devastation, because it is devastating to the egoic identity. There's going to come a moment where you surrender so totally that you go through timelessness and recognize your conception in eternity as eternal, whole, and perfect, and you will no longer be fooled long by bodily symptoms of thinking. But the bodily idea of who you are will no longer fool you long again, okay? Because this is what I was trying to say before, right at the spot where the decision is made, where you surrender, you come back to the same spot where the separation seemed to have impacted you. When you surrender, the experience of who you are is right at that spot. All roads will begin to carry you back to that spot, and you'll recognize your identity as the Christ is sitting alongside every moment in space-time wherein which surrender has been available to you, right at that crossroad, in a sense. The birth of Christ is now without a past or future. He has come to give his present blessing to the world, restoring it to timelessness and love. And love is ever present here and now. It would have to be. Thanks for this instant, Father. It is now I am redeemed. This instant is the time you have appointed for your Son's release and for salvation of the world in him. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that your release is in the future, even though you may not be experiencing it now. Recognize that the ego is attempting to co-opt even the words of Jesus and the Holy Spirit to help to try to convince you to continue to think that there's some things you're going to do that will get you to a future now that will allow you to have the experience, because the future now will be exactly as this now, and that experience that we're referring to doesn't come in the maintenance of the identity and the world of space and time. It comes in the releasing yourself from it by your decision that it no longer serves your purpose in its entirety, which would include the decision that you now require a new understanding or perception of the purpose of time. And in that experience, you will receive it full-blown from the mind of God, by the grace of God, through the auspices of the Holy Spirit, in the recognition of your gratitude that the second coming is coming here and now.